Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. A little while ago, I shared a quick video on how I make these circle flowers. I use punches and paper, and I've done a variation of those with fabric. My friend Renee had sent me some really cool fabric sample books, and I came across it when I was looking for something else, and I just made some of these fabric flowers with them. And my friend Denise, I was sharing a completed project with her, and she said, wait a minute, show me how you make these fabric flowers. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and do that, and maybe somebody else can use them as well. And I believe it'll work with most any fabric, but I just happen to have the fabric sample book, a small one, and I used that fabric. So I will show you how I make those. These are what the fabric sample book looked like. They're just, they came from, I don't know, maybe it's not even regular fabric. Maybe it's upholstery fabric. Probably is now that I think about it. And it's not super thick, but it's sturdier than, say, a cotton. Could you use cotton? Probably. I don't see any reason why not. The thing I like about these is they're really forgiving. The circles don't have to be cut perfectly. It's an easy process. Well, I think it's pretty easy. And you don't have to have punches, though you certainly can use punches. All right, I had some prepped up, and I'll show you how I did these. Oh, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we don't get that nasty glare from the overhead light. At least I hope we don't. All right, I fidgeted it a little bit, so hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Let's see. To make these, the first thing I did was I used a scrap of, I don't know, it's not really chipboard, but this is just packaging paper. And I chose circle punches in 3 sizes that can stack nicely. I made one of these. I wonder if I still have it around here. I don't know if I do or not. I made some for a friend. I did one in 3 different colors. Yeah, I do. I have this one, and I didn't really care for it. I used bits of lace, though I like that part. It's kind of pretty. But I used 3 different fabrics, and because of the size, I just thought it was too much. And so from there, I went to using the same fabric and stacking them in different sizes. And I was a little happier with that. Anyway, the way I started it is I chose circle punches in 3 different sizes. And you can use the positive or the negative space. I just found it faster and easier to use the negative space. The ones I chose were 1 1/4, 1 inch, and 3/4 inch. And I just punched them out. Again, you can use the positive space as your template to trace around on your paper, or I'm sorry, on your fabric, or you can use the negative space. And this was just a little faster, and so that's what I'm going to do. If you do not have circle punches, this is still really easy to do. Like I was looking down my desk at my, my ink box that I use, right? And I keep it like this. Well, turns out the base of this is about 1 1/4 inch, and the base of this is about 1 inch. So I could use, you can't tell from there, but I could use these for templates and just trace around them and use them that way. So, probably something that you've already got in your craft room will work well as well. Maybe the bottom of your coffee cup, or just, the bottom of your Fabrictac bottle, or whatever. Something you've got and something you want to use. Okay, I'm going to sit down now. So, sugar. I forgot it again. I'm learning as I go. I'm going to go ahead. That was the cat's toy. Sorry for the squeaky. I am going to plug in my microphone and decent sound, and hopefully my volume is up enough. And I didn't check that, but I'm not going to restart. So there you go. Okay. Maybe before I do this, I should say that let me see if that's kind of in frame. Maybe I should say that I am not encouraging anybody to use the fire the way I use the fire. You don't have to seal the edges. You don't have to finish them off. You can just cut them and leave them raw. I like the edges kind of a little bit done. So when I'm done with it, I kind of push it through my flame on my candle and tap it. Now, I've done probably 100 of these things, and I haven't burnt my fingers yet. They're stained, but that's only because I was working with alcohol ink yesterday, and I rarely wear gloves. I haven't burnt myself. I haven't lit anything on fire, but you. Be careful, be cautious. Don't do anything that you think might be dangerous or damaging. I use a candle. You can use one of those the wax melting deals. And this particular candle, I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to turn it because the wax will be sideways. Can I show it in there? It's called Anchor 6-ounce Fig and Almond, and I love the smell. I have no idea where I got it, but I wish I did because it's got a really cool, rusty old tin, and I really like it. But anyway, and then the tray that it's sitting on, somebody asked about that the other day. I got this at a yard sale several years ago, and there was a post-it on the back, taped on the back, and it said, my pappy used this in the 1800s as his dinner plate when he was traveling west to be a cowboy and going into the gold fields. So I just found it, I mean, I paid maybe 50 cents for it, and I found it heartbreaking that somebody would get rid of it, but two, I wanted to preserve it. So I use this for hot things, like if I'm going to be melting candle wax, or if I'm using hot glue, or just as a little storage tray. So that's what this is, and that's where it came from. All right. The other thing I've got and that I'm using is just a little piece of that fabric, probably, like I said, upholstery fabric. And then these are some felted wool bits that I had. I cut them a long time ago when I was working with AccuCut for a project, and they're left over, and so I'm going to use them for this too. And then the other thing is some brads. I just found some brads, and then somebody asked me what size. I don't think it really matters so much, but let me pull out a ruler with centimeter measurements on it, because I think, yeah, these are centimeter. Brads generally are, when you find them, they do it by centimeter. And so these are what, probably 3 centimeter brads, maybe something like that. I don't know how, oh, I'm not even close in frame. Sorry about that. These are about 3 centimeter brads. So that's what I use, but you can certainly use what you've got on hand. All right. I use one of each. I stack 3. Could you stack 5? Sure. Could you stack 4? Sure. Could you do 2? Absolutely. Just, I liked 3, and I like working in odd numbers as a general rule. So on the back of the upholstery fabric, I am drawing, whoops, well, no, I'm actually not drawing it on this because, all right, that won't work because of the fabric it is. The other fabric I used was a softer fabric, and it was more willing to take the pen, but for this case, I'll just use a bit of a Sharpie, and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and then 3. So I'll do all 3 sizes. And the beauty of this is you don't have to cut the circles perfectly. In fact, it looks great when you don't cut them perfectly. So am I in frame? Oh, sorry, I zoomed in to make it so you could see it, and then I take myself out of frame. All right, 3 circles. And I generally prefer to pre-cut the pieces, and I might want to make another one to match it. So I'll bring it down. So I'll cut out my circles. I'll save my scraps because, you know, I do. And okay, so I'm going to cut out the circles, and it doesn't have to be perfect by any means, way, shape, or form. I'm using this as a guideline. Some people wouldn't even need to trace it. They can cut in a circle. I can't do that and get the size to where I want it to be. So that's why I traced the circle first. So there's 1. Here's the center one. And again, you can see I'm not cutting it perfectly. It's not really even. It's just a guideline to get the size. And that's 2. And then here's the last one, 3. And I'm not even going to worry about getting all of the black Sharpie off because that'll be the underside and it won't show because I remember I used the underside of the upholstery fabric. All right, so there are my 3 pieces. And again, this step is optional. You do not have to do this. And if you don't feel safe doing it, don't do it. And I'm sure my firefighter friends are like, Corey, what are you doing? But it's okay. Like I said, I feel comfortable with it. And all I do is I just kind of bring it through the flame a little bit. I was originally using a lighter and that was way too much work. And this way, excuse me, I just kind of seal the edges a little bit. And like I said, I've done this for a whole bunch of them and I haven't burnt myself yet. So, you know, some fabric is flammable. Be careful. I mean, be wise. Know your fabric, know you, know your materials, that kind of thing. So anyway, I do that with all 3 pieces. So basically, it looks like that. It gives it a little distressed edge, and it also seals the fibers in. Excuse me. Pardon me, I apologize. I guess my voice is waking up still this morning. Okay, so doing this, going around, sealing the fibers. The different fabrics on those upholstery samples are different weaves. So some are tighter than others, some need this more than others, some need this less than others. I don't know. I like it. I like the way it looks, and I like the fact that it helps, it's like inking the edge of a paper. It helps distinguish between one layer and the next. And it doesn't smell bad. And like I said, I haven't caught anything on fire, and I haven't ruined anything. Plus, it's just a really nice smell. Okay, so I did those 3. And let's see, I've stacked them one on top of each other, and I'm hoping that you can see what I did. And then I will use my poor old clock and a piercer of some sort. This one happens to be a really old one, but your Tim Holtz piercing tool, you could certainly use this. You could use a needle, you could use a thumbtack. You don't have to have a special tool in order to do this. This is just a piece of fun foam that used to be a clock from the dollar store. Okay, let me make sure I've got them where I kind of want them. Again, they don't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of this. And then I'm going to punch a hole in the center of my fabric with my piercing tool. And I'm going to take a brad and put the brad, now please work, put the brad through the hole. Now I've not had it not work yet, but because I'm on camera, it might not work. Oh, there we go, good. Okay, so I push the brad through. And I notice I didn't really care if it's not perfectly in the center. I just kind of pushed it through and separated the back. So that is how I make the flower. And the way I make the leaves is, all right, here you can see this was a poinsettia die that I didn't use. Well, you can, again, trace a pattern if you want to, but I thought the leaves I find pretty easy to freehand. So I'm going to do the leaves. And what I do is I just pick a point and I round. And they're not all the same size. And if I wanted to, I could use one of these, one of the smaller ones. I don't even have any smaller ones, as kind of a template. And I've done that with some of them, but these are pretty much, once you've cut a couple, they're pretty easy to cut. And again, the beauty is they don't have to be perfect. So there's one, and then I'll do another one about the same size. And, in real life, most leaves aren't perfect. Well, okay, maybe they're a little more perfect than what I'm making them, but essentially the same thing. I just freehand cut a couple leaves, right? Then, to assemble them, it makes me a crazy person that Fabrictac takes so long to come down to the tip. So when I'm using it, I store it upside down in a coffee mug so that I can have the glue, basically, in the tip. And then I just put a dot. You could use hot glue if you're a hot glue fan. I just put a dot of the glue on the bottom of each of the 2 leaves. I mean, you could use 3 leaves or 4 leaves or whatever. I just chose 2 because of the size. I feel like bigger leaves or bigger flowers might need a few more leaves. Smaller flowers maybe could get by with 1. Okay, and then I take the 2 pieces that I've glued and I kind of stack them loosely one on top of each other. And then I decide where I want the flower, and not that it really matters because it's pretty much the same. And then I lay that on top. And then I've got a little bit of time where I can move it around, I can wiggle it, I can place it how I want. And then it's Fabrictac, it'll dry. And oh, there you go. I didn't do that one very well. I want to change it a little bit. And that's the beauty of it. You have a little bit of room. I want that to show a little less and that to go here. You've got a little bit of time to alter it and make it how you want it. And that is how you make, or how I make, the fabric circle flowers. So it's the same idea as the paper ones, but it's not a perfect circle, and it's fairly flat. I mean, if you were wanting a super flat journal, this might not be the best choice, but it would be great on a cover, and it makes a fun decoration, and it's a great way to use up some scraps. So there's that. I wanted to say one thing before I move on. I got a message, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks or so ago, from a lady named D. Herrick, a viewer, and she asked if I'd gotten her package, and I said, no, or envelope, or whatever it was. And I said, no, I'm sorry. Well, 3 days ago, my neighbor brought over, and I put the book over on the counter, sorry. My neighbor brought over a package and said, my mom's had this on her counter for forever, and it's not hers, and we saw part of your address on here, so we're wondering if it was yours because the box had been mangled. And yes, it was. It was mine from Dee. So Dee, thank you very much. That was super, super kind of you, and I apologize for not getting it and acknowledging it sooner. All right, that's all I've got for today. I'm still working on the Stamperia Forest, and I'm doing the inserts now, the 5 different inserts for inside the envelopes, and I think that'll be next. I said the cover would be next, but based on the thickness, I'm going to adapt the cover for that. So that should be coming up fairly soon. Thank you all for watching, and happy creating.